gun control. Now, it's a real hot topic when it comes to certain fucking people. Not for me. I have a clear-cut fucking idea. And I know we've roughly gone over it in previous episodes. But what do you think? What do you think of gun control in Australia, and what do you think of what it means for the rest of the world? Because that's all they keep saying. They keep using the Australia as a good example. Oh, look what happened in Australia. They had one mass shooting, then they took the guns, and they never had a mass shooting again. Well, that's not exactly true. But what's your opinion? What do you think?
Oh, just like anywhere else, we still have shootings.
Yeah.
Even with, the gun control and...
Speaking to the mic. Sorry, I'm just telling you, man.
They can hear me.
They can hear? Oh, I'm going to turn it up then.
If you can't, jump on the comment section, have a whinge. That's what it's there for.
Yeah, there's plenty of them. But anyway, yeah.
Anyway, like, my standings on it is, people that are good citizens, abide by the laws. So, you can argue that fact, well, criminals don't care about registration.
Mm-hmm. They're going to own a gun regardless, man, because they,
if they want to commit a crime,
they're breaking the law anyway.
They need a weapon.
That's why you call them criminals.
You can ascertain a weapon through not legal means.
Mm-hmm. It is easier in Australia.
Regardless of the gun control laws.
It is easier in Australia to get an illegal gun than it is to get a legal gun.
Well,
and it's ridiculous.
I don't know. Like,
what? You don't think that's true?
Well, I've never tried and get a weapon for myself in terms of illegally. And not even legally. I don't even have my gun license, so I've never even tried
I'm trying to apply for
buy a weapon. I don't go shooting or anything.
You have to go to the cop station, and they have to do a background check.
Yeah, there's all that. There's the process of the background check, and there's they check your criminal history, see if you what you've naughty and nice list sort of thing. What you've done, your history, and they deem you competent whether to have a weapon. And you got to renew your license and stuff like that. And as far as I know, I think here in they also check your storage for your weapons.
Yeah.
So the police will actually come in and quote me if I'm wrong, but they'll actually come and check the storage facility, as in the gun safe.
Yep.
Make sure it's properly bolted down by all the policy standards.
I think they only do that once or twice. I don't think that's an ongoing.
Yeah, I don't think it's like Gestapo regime where they
surprise
bust in
checks.
surprise checks sort of thing. But
but at the end of listen, it hasn't made Australia any safer. Getting rid of those guns has not made a fucking wee bit of fucking difference. If it's done anything, it's made us less safe. Just look at what happened in Sydney with the siege.
Again, this is where I fucked up, and I haven't done my homework, and I haven't looked at statistics and reports about it. And done it,
Well, if you look at the gun violence going back to the 60s.
What I do know is you still have gun crimes here in Australia.
Yeah, but it's been going down way before the fucking banned the guns, though. But dude, that has
underbelly scenarios.
Yeah, but you have that in every country, man. Like what you have in Australia at the moment is a graph that's going down from the 60s because it's in our culture that we got rid of. Even back then, people felt a little uncomfortable with guns and stuff, and it was only in the rural areas that you really had a lot of people with a lot of guns.
Yeah.
But then when introduced the gun laws, it did nothing. Did absolutely nothing to reduce gun violence. People like to say, but look at the graph from 94 to now, it's gone down. Yeah, but look at the graph going back to the 60s. It's been going down since then. It's just an extramental trend since the 60s. It's just in our culture. We're not like America. We didn't get into this whole gun obsession. You know what I mean? We're more of a colonial. We are a colonial-based country, so we didn't get into the American system. And if folks could actually see at home, or you can see at home, we've actually got the 1776 flag laid out in front of us, and it's not because we're a giant American. Woo! Yeah. We're not American woo girls. We're not American woo girls, but I do. One of my favorite people in history is George Washington. Look at George Washington in history, man. He turned down kingship. They offered him the position of being king, and he said no because that's not what they were fighting for. They weren't fighting for fucking one guy to take out King George, only for another King George to step in.
Yeah, they certainly weren't fighting for one tyrant to take the place of another.
Exactly. Exactly. And then, people say, well, George Washington owned slaves. But I fucking do your history, dickheads. If you knew your fucking history, you knew that he was trying to get it into the Constitution that blacks would be freed. But you had too many people that said no. So he couldn't put it in there. It was just one of those things, like many others. He didn't want anything to do with a bank. He didn't want a centralised banking system. But that got in there, eventually. Oh, doorbell. Interrupting our podcast. How fucking rude. Anyway, doesn't matter. But just do your own, research. People with guns, you're more safer with a gun than you are without a gun, and that you just need to look at the statistics, and that will prove it. Okay, but getting back to what I was saying, the gun laws after what happened in Port Arthur has not made a difference in Australia. If anything, it's made us more unsafe. Just look at what happened in Sydney. I mean, they shut down the entire fucking, the entire fucking city was practically shut down.
One fella shut down half a city
with a shotgun
for over 16 hours.
That shit ain't gonna happen in Texas.
It's sort of paralyzed, fucking, paralyzed the city. What they're trying to do, they did a mass evacuation from that area.
Yeah. That shit doesn't happen in Texas, man. You don't see fucking crap going. You don't. When crap goes down in Texas, cunts get shot.
Something like that. Everyone in that situation is at risk. Whether it's the government, the hostages, and the police themselves, are all at risk in that type of scenario.
Right.
And really, the way I see it, and call me harsh, call me whatever you want, but I sort of see as you got to take a zero tolerance to that type of thing.
Yeah.
So. Whether it's instead of giving him 16 hours of media time, they should have just rushed in straight away. They knew there was a risk. There's guns involved. There's hostages involved. It's not a movie.
But one of those hostages was shot by the cops, though.
Everyday people.
That's what people have to understand, is that one of those fucking hostages was shot by the cops.
The best case scenario always happens.
And they say that if, look, my point is,
everyone
someone who worked there,
unscathed.
Listen, someone who worked there should have had a gun.
The bad guys gone, the good guys rock. It's not like a movie. It's real life. This is reality.
Yeah.
People are at risk. And I think that, when it comes to that scenario, there's risk involved regardless.
Yeah.
And, it's sort of, if there's a zero tolerance to it, it stamps it out straight away. Not, let's give this guy 16 hours of media PRing and, promoting this idiot all over the world, because that's what it just did.
Yep.
He
got the fucking flag wrong.
ISIS, basically.
He got the fucking flag wrong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He got up there and he's just like...
The guy was a moron.
Yeah, he hung it in the window and he's just like, I'm doing it for, doing it for the jihad. And then they're like... Then he's watching the news and they're like... They got an expert on that says... They got
all this, this prime time.
Yeah, but he's like, it's for ISIS, it's for ISIS. But he's hanging up the wrong flag. And then one of his demands was like, I want...
Get me the proper
and then,
flag.
Can you give me the real flag? I got fucked up here and I grabbed the wrong fucking one. Oh, God.